Erev Rosh Hashanah Tov Rabotai. We are continuing with our Mishnah Yomi Masechet Bava Metzia. We are up to Perek Daled Mishnah Aleph. Today's Mishnayot should be Le'elu Nishmat Neria ben Svetlana Aranbai Veliyahu ben Burcha Israelov Chana bad Miriam Sason ben Ryan Yoshua ben Shifra Menuchatam began Eden Amen and Lavdi ben Chaim Lechaim v'Refuah Shelemav Daniel Shalom ben Rosa betoch Shah Cholei Israel and Achlama Merav Binyamin Od Zion Chai ben Dvorah. Movable objects cannot be acquired simply by paying for them. The sale of a movable object is not final until the buyer does some other act of kinyan. A kinyan is an act through which a person acquires ownership of property, either from someone else or from hefker, ownerless. So the sale of a movable object is not final until the buyer does some other act of kinyan to it, such as lifting it, hagbah, or drawing it from where it is, mishicha. This is in contrast to real estate, houses or land, which can be acquired simply by paying for it, as the Mishnah says in Kiddushin chapter 1, Mishnah 5. Once he does one of these acts of kinyan, the buyer takes over ownership of the item, even if he has not yet paid for it, and he now owes the seller the money. Before he makes such an act of kinyan, he does not own the item, even if he already paid the seller for it. By biblical law, even movable property is acquired by paying for it. However, the rabbis were concerned that a buyer might pay for his purchase and leave it temporarily with the seller. If a fire was in to break out, the seller would not bother to save it since it was no longer his. The rabbis therefore said that the sale is not final even after money has been paid until the buyer makes some other kinyan in which he actually takes the item from the seller. A question arises in a case where two people trade different types of coins. Which coins are the ones being bought and which are the ones paying for the purchase? The trade will be final only when the coin that is being bought is taken by the person buying it. Hazav konet kesef, if gold coins are traded for silver ones, taking the gold coins causes the other person to acquire the silver coins, meaning the sale is final and the buyer must now pay the seller the number of silver coins they agreed on. However, the seller does not actually acquire any specific coins until the buyer pays him. This is because the gold coins are considered the object being bought, so that a kinyan on them completes the sale. V'akesef eno konet hazav, but taking the silver coins does not cause the other person to acquire the gold coins, because the silver coins are considered the money in this exchange, and taking money for an item does not complete its sale. Now, the reason gold coins are considered the object being sold and the silver the money is that whenever one kind of coin is used to acquire another kind of coin, the kind that can be more easily spent in the marketplace is considered to be the money. Since gold coins are worth much more than silver ones, many merchants are reluctant to take them as payment because they would then have to make change for them. Silver coins, on the other hand, are readily accepted. Hanechoshet konet kesef, if silver and copper coins are being traded, then taking the copper coins causes the other person to acquire the silver coins, meaning the person who sold the copper coins is now owed the number of silver ones they agreed on. This is because the copper coins are considered the object being bought, so that a kinyan on them completes the sale. V'akesef eno konen et hanechoshet, but taking the silver coins does not cause the other person to acquire the copper coins, because the silver coins are considered the money in this exchange. Although there are places where merchants would prefer to get the cheaper copper coins as payments rather than the more expensive silver ones, there are other places where the merchants do not accept copper coins at all, only silver ones. The copper coins are therefore viewed as the object being bought, and the silver coins are the payment for them. Ma'ot haraot konot dayafot, if coins that are still in use in that country are traded for those that have been taken out of circulation, taking the bad coins, the ones no longer used, causes the other person to acquire the good ones, because the bad coins are considered the object being bought. Vayafot enan konot et haraot, but taking the good ones does not cause the other person to acquire the bad ones, since the good coins are considered the money in this exchange. A simon konet matbea, if a minted coin is being traded for an unminted coin. Unminted coins are pieces of gold or silver or copper made into the shape of coins that have not yet been stamped with an image by the government. Since they cannot yet be used as money in the market, they're considered the object being bought. The Mishnah says taking the unminted coins causes the other person to acquire the minted coin, because the unminted coin is considered the object being bought. V'amatbea eno konet et asimon, but taking the minted coin does not cause the other person to acquire the unminted coin, because the minted coin is the money. The Mishnah teaches the basic rule with regard to buying movable objects. Mitaltilin konim et hamatbea, taking movable objects causes the seller to acquire the coin that is given in payment. V'hamatbea eno konet mitaltilin, but taking the coin does not cause the buyer to acquire the movable objects. It does not matter whether the coin is gold, silver, or copper. A coin is always considered payment for a movable object. The Mishnah moves on to discuss trading movable objects for each other. This is the rule with regard to trading one movable object for another. All movable objects acquire one another, meaning as soon as one person takes one of the objects, the other person acquires the other object wherever it is, and the deal is final. This kind of exchange is a new kinyan known as kinyan khalifin. In this kinyan, neither object is considered money. The kinyan works simply on the basis of exchange. The exchange takes effect as soon as one of the objects is acquired by the other person. And that is out of Mishnah Aleph. Mishnah Bet now gives the reason for the laws taught in Mishnah Aleph. It also qualifies the extent of those laws. Kitzad, how so? Why is it that taking the gold or copper coins acquires the silver coins, but taking the silver coins does not acquire the gold or copper coins? Because the general rule is that when a person buys produce, now the word produce, which usually refers to food items that grow from a tree or ground, is used in this chapter as a general name for any movable object that is bought with money. So when a person buys any general movable object that is bought with money, if the buyer drew the produce from the seller but did not yet give him the money, he cannot back out of the sale, because taking the produce is the kinyan that makes the sale final. In contrast, if the buyer gave the seller money but did not yet draw the produce from him, he can back out of the sale. That is, either one of them can back out of the sale. Since gold and copper coins are considered produce in comparison to silver coins, for the reasons we said in the previous Mishnah, when gold or copper coins are traded for silver coins, taking the gold or copper, the produce, acquires the silver, the money, but taking the silver does not acquire the gold or copper coins. Now this would imply that simply paying money for an item accomplishes nothing. The Mishnah qualifies this rule. Aval Amrud, the sages, however, said that although a person can technically back out of a sale even after the money has been given, the one who punished the people of the generation of the flood and of the generation of the dispersion for their sins, of the generation of the dispersion refers to the people who built the Tower of Bavel, whom God punished by dispersing, scattering them all over the world. This is in the book of Bereshit, chapter 11, verses 1 through 9. He will someday punish the person who does not stand by his word and backs out of a deal after the money has been paid. The courts pronounce a curse against the person who backed out of the deal, saying that God will punish him. The first Tana holds that since paying money is not enough to finalize a sale, either side can back out of it. Rabbi Shimon disagrees. Rabbi Shimon says, the one who has the money in his hand has the upper hand, meaning once the buyer has paid the seller who has the money can back out of the sale, but not the buyer. Like we explained in the previous Mishnah, under biblical law, sale is final as soon as the seller takes the money. The rabbis enacted that the sale should not be final because of their concern that if later there was a fire in the seller's property, the seller would make no effort to save the item since it no longer belonged to him. Rabbi Shimon argues that this concern can be addressed by letting just the seller back out of the sale, since the seller knows that if the price of the item goes up while he is still holding it, he will be able to back out and sell it at a higher price. He will make the effort to save the item from the fire. Therefore, there is therefore no need to give the buyer this option as well. And this is the Gemara on page 47b in Bava Metzia, as explained by Tosfot Yom Tov. Rav has a different understanding of the Gemara, but we are following the notes in the art scroll elucidated. And the Rav tells us, Ven halacha Rabbi Shimon, the halacha does not follow the opinion of Rabbi Shimon. That is the Rabotai of today's Mishnah. Everybody should have a Shana Tova Umetuka. Baruch Adonai Leolam. Amen v'amen.